What if there was a weapon that could cause complete devastation? What if it could even demolish whole cities? In the earlier 20th century, people lived in a world rattled with conflict. Throughout both World War I and World War II, weapons development and military industry would increase and expand dramatically. Nearing the end of the Second World War, the flexing arm of the American industry was in full swing, but when signs of the war in Europe started to close, they needed a method to close up the Pacific campaign in one fell swoop. After the Manhattan Project, which was a joining of scientists to find new and improved ways of harboring the nuclear power, became the result of the idea of nuclear-powered bombs, which on further discovery found you could harness a mass amount of energy by tampering with the atom in various ways, and thus the atomic age of warfare begun. The first bomb, which was named Trinity, had a basic design of a plutonium implosion device, which meant the plutonium atom would have to be imploded on itself to achieve critical mass. Both elements of plutonium and uranium were used highly for the construction and usage of atomic weapons. So how does an atomic weapon work? Nuclear weapons are some of the most powerful weapons in the world today. They react and explode using two different types of reactions: nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is a process in which the nucleus of the atom is split apart. Neutrons are used to do this. For it to create a superweapon, a radioactive material must be used. When the nucleus is split by the neutron, and extra neutrons are produced, and these and then free electrons can go on to start a chain reactions, thus releasing astronomical amounts of energy. The most used element to create this reaction is uranium-235, although plutonium also has the potential. The uranium absorbs the neutron, fired at it, and splits it almost instantaneously, splitting into two other elements as well as a couple of other electrons. The new elements created then give off gamma radiation. For uranium to be able to be weapons-grade material, it must be first enriched. Weapons-grade uranium is composed of over 90% uranium-235. When in a bomb, the uranium has to be kept in groups apart from each other, and is what known as a subcritical mass. This is to prevent the bomb from exploding prematurely after takeoff. To create a nuclear reaction, there must be a source of electrons. For when the bomb is released by an aircraft, the first step is for the foil is broken with the subcritical masses coming together, and polonium spontaneously emits alpha particles. These alpha particles then collide with beryllium-9 to produce beryllium-8 and free neutrons. The neutrons then initiate fission. To make sure the most of the material inside the bomb has fissioned before it explodes, they use a material called tamper, which is very dense material, often uranium-238. This tamper then expands and puts pressure back on the core and slows the expansion. It also reflects some neutrons back into the core. Nuclear weapons have few methods of detonation. First one would be gun trigger. For the bomb to explode, it needs to bring the subcritical masses together. So they take a small bullet out and set it to a trigger at a certain point so that the bullet hits the neutron generators, triggering the fission reaction. This makes the tamper expand and push the critical masses together where the real fission reaction happens before the bomb explodes. The second method would be implosion triggered. Implosion bombs were harder to design originally. It uses explosives to create a shock wave which pushes the subcritical masses together, starting the reaction and exploding the bomb. A noticeable weapon to use implosion triggering would be Trinity, the first ever nuclear weapon to be tested. All this information on how a nuclear weapon works is all interesting, but were they ever used in a combat situation? The 6th of August 1945, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. At exactly 8:15 AM, the first of two bombs to be used in a conflict manner were dropped. The uranium gun weapon, or Little Boy Bomb, was a 16 kiloton nuclear device which had a blast radius of 1.3 kilometers, and it had taken over 150,000 Japanese lives. Even though the Japanese people in the motherland were completely shocked and devastated by these new forms of weapons, they still simply did not surrender, which left America in a really hard spot. 9th of August 1945, the atomic bombing of Nagasaki. At exactly 11:01 AM, the second and last atomic weapon to be used in conflict was dropped. The plutonium implosion gun weapon, or FATMAN, was the second ever implosion bomb to be tested. Measuring in at 21 kilotons, the immense devastation of the blast was absolutely astounding. Although lesser casualties have been recorded than Hiroshima at 150,000 compared to only 80,000 in Nagasaki. But on top of that, the destruction was a lot more severe and is seen in these compared photos. Securing their spot on the high seat of the world, America didn't stop there and hence continued with their atomic craving. The start of an immense bomb research project was now in full effect, as scientists needed to learn more on these weapons and try to perfect them. In 1946, Operation Crossroads was in effect, in which 2 tests would be conducted against a makeshift fleet of old warships. Shot Able and Baker would be the code names for these bombs. Able would be dropped by a B-29 bomber and detonated over the fleet at 158 meters, whilst Baker would be detonated at 27 meters under Bikini Lagoon, giving an idea of nuclear warfare above and below a naval unit. In 1946 to 1951, nuclear weapons would be tested for different environments, yields, delivery systems, and bombshells, but it was in the 50s when real devastation had been achieved. Scientists and researchers wanted to find different ways of delivering nuclear weapons to targets. Dropping from a bomber was the original method of doing so and had been proven effective in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Although as the years went on, new military technology found it easier to shoot down bombers with heat-seeking and laser-guided missiles. On the subject of missiles and rockets, both cruise and ballistic missiles have been used in later years and have found much more effective than other tactical options such as artillery shells, landmines, and depth charges. Cruise missiles have a much shorter range but are harder to detect and intercept. They are not normally used for nuclear weapons, but they can be retrofitted if needed. Ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, which stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, is a missile that can be fired from one continent to the other, which proves very effective but very catastrophic.